Warning, what you're about to see may be too extreme for the young, the impressionable, and the faint of heart. Parental discretion is advised. Try to remain calm. In the next hour, we're taking you inside some of the most shocking, spine-tingling, and seriously haunted places in America.
There appears to be something that in this house that doesn't belong here.
From a honky-tonk with a portal to hell.
This is probably the most evil place you'll ever encounter in your lifetime.
To a creepy mansion where family tragedy lives on in frightening ways.
This man I saw was definitely a ghost. There's absolutely no way that he was in the building. He just vanished.
To the single scariest road in the U.S.
Hard to talk about it. Just, I usually don't believe in this stuff, but it was a bad experience this time.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Plus, a labyrinth of tunnels where an unspeakable horror resides. Don't forget to check under the bed. This is the most terrifying places in America, too. If you think haunted houses are scary, you won't believe what goes on underneath. First, our terrifying road trip takes us to Portland, Oregon.
It is the remnants of a past that was so horrific. This is where human abuse at its worst took place.
The most haunted part of this city is actually underground. Follow us down to the Shanghai Tunnels, the scariest subterranean labyrinth in America, if you dare.
Shanghai Tunnels is a series of underground networks, basements that interconnected to other basements through archways. Tunnels generally went under the streets, linking block to block or between buildings.
The tunnels are endless, it seems. They're dark, they're dusty, and you're always kind of waiting for something to reach out and grab you. I'm really scared.
What's there to be scared of? First, you have to understand what horrific deeds transpired underneath this city. Legend has it that these vast tunnels, which once spanned about 9 miles between Portland's Old Town and the downtown area, were used from around 1870 to the 1940s for a very sinister purpose: Shanghaiing.
Shanghaiing is a term which means to kidnap men, sell them to sea captains, who forced them to work aboard their ships for nothing. And the furthest port these ships were going to go to was the port of Shanghai, China. So that's how the term Shanghaiing developed.
It's said that Shanghaiers kidnapped their victims and ferried them through these very tunnels to be sold for just $50 each.
The people that were Shanghaiing were considered the dregs of society. They were sailors, loggers, cowboys, sheep herders. It was ethnic groups. They had no rights back in those days.
And men weren't the only targets. Women were also captured and sold into prostitution. So how did they abduct innocent people? Shanghaiers targeted saloons where they could find easy and intoxicated prey. Directly under the bars lay the tunnels, and that's where the trap doors come in.
Now this is called the deadfall. It's a trap door that all the saloons had them. This is where somebody would be standing while they're drunk, and at the right time, the bartender would pull this lever and down they would come.
150 years worth of brutal human history. What the Shanghaiers did to their victims, there was a lot of murder and mayhem and death, and a lot of people met a nasty end.
After they'd been abducted, captives were held in cramped cells like this, and some, it is said, never made it out alive. Many believe the restless spirits of the victims still lurk here in these tunnels.
We were working in a particular area, and there was a door, and one of the bartenders from up above was down to unlock it for us. He unlocked the door, opened it, and a hand reached out through the opening. It was very wispy and cloud-like, and we all freaked out. The bartender quit the next day.
There was nobody down here, and I heard those wind chimes go. And it's like, okay, am I alone down here? No. Oh gosh, what else is here?
Phantom wind chimes aren't the only mysterious music playing in the Shanghai tunnels. Enter this dismal holding cell, and you might hear a very different tune.
The whistlers heard here. This is a woman who whistles an old-time tune. I first heard her 14 years ago, and I spent 30 minutes looking for her, then I gave up. I realized whoever was whistling it just couldn't see, and since that night, many people have heard her.
Hearing something that is just not there is very terrifying.
But hearing things is nothing compared to seeing them. Meet Nina, a frequently seen apparition in these tunnels.
We believe she was Native American. She was grabbed by white slavers and sold into prostitution. When she appears, I tell you, she looks like you and I. She is not in a mist. She is not in a fog. She looks so normal. This is one of the main places that Nina is sighted. Some of the people will actually comment later on, I think I saw a woman, but am I crazy? So you're always questioning yourself, your sanity.
Before my experiences in the tunnels, I was a total non-believer, but I've had too many experiences now to be able to say that anymore.
The next stop on our tour of America's most terrifying places brings us to Old Town Tattoo in Chicago, Illinois. But we're not here to get inked. We're here to get spooked. Because this is possibly the only haunted tattoo parlor in the world.
Things have fallen off the wall, the lights uncontrollably flickered.
Doors have opened on me that I've known I've locked. Things have moved. Drapes have blown outwards with the windows closed, so there's no drafts coming through.
You always feel like somebody's watching you. That's the best way I can put it. I always feel like, somebody's here.
Why so much otherworldly activity? Well, this building wasn't always used for inking pretty mermaids. It used to be for embalming bodies. You see, back in the 1880s, this was built as the site of Chicago's first known funeral parlor.
Down here in the basement, this is the old cold storage and embalming room. The dissection tables were in the area just behind us over here, but down here is the hole where the fluids actually went down from the body and from the embalming table themselves. This area is something that I always get one of the scariest feelings.
In 2003, Richie Tapeworm Herrera rented the former funeral home and converted it into a tattoo shop. But he soon discovered a restless spirit remained from the building's mortuary past.
They had poltergeist activity. Now, poltergeist activity is when objects move without there being any apparent cause. One of which was a mask that they had on the wall. This mask, over a dozen times to my knowledge, jumped up and off the wall and landed at his feet.
Some speculate that the spirit was offended by the arrival of a tattoo parlor where a funeral home once stood. And the ghost wasn't content with throwing poltergeist tantrums. He made some personal appearances, too.
The man in the suit was seen just behind us wandering up the stairwell here as a visual apparition. He had been seen by a number of people that we had talked to.
And the mysterious figure didn't take kindly to Richie's irreverent sense of humor.
There was a grand opening party here, and at that time, Richie was a bit of a jokester, and he decided to dress up like a Catholic priest. The man in the suit had some issues with that, and apparently decided to push Richie down the stairs.
The scariest thing was Richie telling us a story of somebody trying to push him down the stairs, and there was obviously nobody behind him.
And Richie had told me that if I ever die in this place, it's on. I'm going to kick that ghost's butt.
And here's where the story of Old Town Tattoo takes a truly strange twist. Only 3 weeks after making that comment, Richie did die of a heart attack in this former funeral parlor. His friends took over the business, and today they believe he's joined the ranks of Old Town's spectral residents.
He passed away directly above us in the apartment. that is like of just the flight up the stairs up above. His bedroom was a little bit ahead over there, and I believe that he died somewhere between the bed and the stairwell.
Richie's spirit was quick to join in on the ghostly good times.
At about midnight, a week after Richie had passed, Richie's old cell phone number that was disconnected at this point rang the place at midnight. No message was left, but everybody that was standing around turned pale, looked at the phone, saw the phone number that was calling, and had no good explanation for it. This is where Richie Tapeworm Herrera actually did his work. Now today, we get a number of odd bits of activity over here. This is the area where some of the new artists will come that didn't know Tapeworm. And when they plug in their equipment to do tattoos on people, the equipment fails. Oddly enough, when one of the older, more established guys that was friends of Tapeworm comes to this station, their equipment, for some reason, works normally.
I believe that he's here every single day watching over us. Sometimes he may be playing jokes on us, or sometimes we may get on his nerves, or sometimes maybe he's even expressing his opinions. But I honestly believe that he's always here with us.
Who knew a phantom could micromanage? When we return, multiple suicides, ghost children. Just try to get a good night's sleep at this inn.
This place is definitely the scariest place I've ever been to. I would definitely not come back.
And later, we take you to a desolate stretch of asphalt. That's the last place in America you'd want to break down.
Probably the scariest, most intense experience of my life.
When the most terrifying places in America, too, continues. Next up, we're at the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri, a quaint restaurant and inn nestled inside a 141-year-old house. But most visitors don't come for the comfy beds. They're here to get scared out of their wits.
There appears to be something that in this house that doesn't belong here.
There are times when I come in that I definitely experience the heaviness and the sadness that is in this house.
This place is definitely the scariest place I've ever been to. And I would definitely not come back. I'm just too scared of this place.
Lemp Mansion is the site of one of America's most heartbreaking ghost stories, where over 40 years of family tragedy translates into some deeply disturbed spirits. So who are these forlorn phantoms? The lurid family history begins with William Lemp Sr., the owner of a hugely successful brewing company. In 1904, William committed suicide, leaving the family business to his second son, Billy. But when Prohibition hit in 1919, the business fell apart.
He was basically out of business, sold the brewery at auction in 1922 for about $588,000, but the brewery, by all accounts, was worth about $7 million. It crushed him.
Humiliated, Billy ended his own life by shooting himself in the heart.
This is the area where Billy Lemp died, right here. He took his own life. It's such a sense of failure.
I think for him, one of the driving factors was the lack of approval that he felt from his father. And I think that having to close the brewery was what pushed him over the edge.
When there is a sudden death, a suicide, at times that entity does not even realize that they're dead. They may go on for the rest of eternity thinking they're alive.
And so it is with the spirit of poor Billy Lemp.
Billy is here because he won't cross over. He won't go because his father's on the other side. His father belittled him his entire life. He doesn't want to face that anymore. So this is where he stays. I'm picking something up from Billy. And he's afraid. He's very anxious about something. He's very afraid. It seems to be a little bit of a negative energy.